Today, the United Nations begins the second phase of its emergency polio vaccination campaign in Gaza. It was due to administer some vaccinations at a school in the Nazareth refugee camp. But the video we are about to show you, which we warn you is disturbing, shows relatives' heartbreak and horror after that school was hit by an Israeli airstrike Sunday. Hospital officials say at least 22 people were killed, some of them children. The UN says it had to cancel its plan to start administering vaccinations at the school as a result of this devastating attack. UNRWA's Director of Planning, Sam Rose, joins us now live from Gaza to give us an update on the polio vaccination rollout and, importantly, the impact that this strike on the school has had. Sam, good to see you. Thank you for taking the time. We've seen two deadly airstrikes in Gaza, importantly the one on the school, which was an important point for rolling out polio vaccinations. Give us a sense of the impact of the strike on your plans.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I mean, this school was one of 29 points that we were going to use, centers that we were going to use for the first day of the polio vaccination campaign today, in 4 health centers across central Gaza and 25 schools. And of course, given the horrific, tragic, harrowing events of what happened overnight, with reports of 22 people killed while they slept, majority women and children, we've not been able to administer the polio campaign at that school in circumstances like this. And you know, we've had hundreds of occasions and hundreds of incidents over the past 12 months when our schools have hit. We've got a very kind of routine mechanism for providing immediate care for those who've been affected, whilst the emergency services also tend to the high numbers of casualties. So immediate human impact, obviously. We've just had to reorient and readjust the polio campaign, which is coming to the end of its first day today.
Give us a sense of how the rest of the polio vaccination campaign is going on right now, how successful it'll be, and now that you've lost one of the sites, what that means overall for ensuring absolute immunity in Gaza.
I mean, it makes an already more difficult effort more difficult, but we are confident that we will be able to administer the remainder of the campaign successfully in central Gaza and southern Gaza. During the hours of 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., pauses have been agreed, pauses in fighting, pauses in the issuance of evacuation orders forcing people to move. In the first round of the polio campaign, those pauses held, but what we saw during that campaign and what we saw so horrifically overnight, both in the school in Nusayrat and in a hospital courtyard in Deir al-Balah, just a few kilometers away, where again, tragically, civilians died and were smothered and asphyxiated underneath plastic sheets as a result of military operations, is that we can vaccinate children against polio, but we can't keep them safe from everything else that's killing them right now in Gaza. That's the real tragedy of all this, tragedy that we even have to be administering a polio campaign. But thanks to the professionalism of our staff, of ministry staff, of other staff from UN agencies and NGOs, we are confident that the campaign in southern and central Gaza will be a success. The north of the Gaza Strip, unfortunately, that remains too early to tell. Certainly, if the conditions that obtain right now in northern Gaza are those that we're faced with next week when we're about to start, it will be nigh on impossible to administer a successful campaign up there. And as you rightly said, if we're not able to administer vaccines to enough children, we don't only impact on those children, but the overall success of the campaign is compromised, increased risk of a re-emergence and a spread of the disease inside Gaza and unfortunately elsewhere.
Sam, you highlighted something really important. You said that you can vaccinate against polio, but you can't protect the children and the civilian population against other externalities and the reality of these airstrikes. You mentioned the hospital strike. We've heard from so many people on the ground and some witnesses that describe absolutely harrowing aftermath and just the conditions. So what is required by hospitals right now medically, because there isn't enough to treat some of the wounded after these very deadly strikes in the matter of a day?
First of all, what's required is for these hospitals to be protected, for their civilian character to be honored, to be adhered to by all parties to the conflict. More than half of Gaza's hospitals right now are out of commission. Those that are working are only working partially. Hospital workers over the past 12 months, as well as having to deal with the most horrific of injuries that they're tending to, have also had to evacuate, have had to pack up time and time again as a result of evacuation orders, as a result of fighting in and around where they are working and where they are situated. That's the first thing that we need. Hospitals also need equipment. They need supplies, they need fuel to power the generators that keep the ventilation units going and the intensive care units running so that people do not die. There was an evacuation of children from one hospital in northern Gaza to another in Gaza City a couple of days ago, and those children had to be transported in ambulances using manual ventilators pumped by hand in the 21st century. So ultimately, we need protection of these facilities. We need supplies. We need the workers to be protected as well. And all this is only really going to come with a lasting and comprehensive ceasefire.
Sam, last week, the UN Commission released a report saying that it found war crimes and crimes against humanity in Israeli attacks on health facilities. And I wonder, from your perspective, being in Gaza, doing the work on the ground, dealing with the realities of this war, whether you think the international community is going to step up to alleviate some of the harsh realities that can be fixed by supplying more resources and, frankly, more food into Gaza.
I mean, I'd certainly like to think so. The pressures that I'm under, that my staff, my colleagues, that health workers, that humanitarian aid workers across Gaza are under are absolutely unimaginable. If reports such as this, if commissions of inquiries such as this by some of the most respected bodies in the world are not respected, are not listened to seriously, then that has impacts not just on how we work here as humanitarian workers, but how we work anywhere in any conflict around the world. If incidents can continue to occur with impunity, they will just provoke and prompt further escalations on both sides, with consequences right now for the people of Gaza, but as I say, broader consequences anywhere in the world if these frameworks, these international frameworks and legal frameworks that govern how we work, that govern the responsibility of member states of the United Nations to take action when there are allegations and concerns that they have been broken. If those aren't working, then I mean, we start to lose hope, and hope is the one thing we really can't afford to lose in Gaza right now. We've lost a lot of it, but people are continuing and will continue, and we are confident and adamant that this polio campaign has to be a success.